Center. And let's go out to Mike Seidel, who is in Miami, 100 miles away from the core of that storm, and he has been taking a beating there in downtown Miami. Mike, just unbelievable pictures from Miami.
Yeah, these pictures are amazing, and considering that this is basically kind of a mid-range tropical storm, because the winds are sustained at about 50-55 miles an hour with gusts, 75 to 80, 85. So we're not getting sustained hurricane force winds. And imagine the winds being 120, 125 miles an hour gust over on the west coast. So it is going to be a more dangerous hurricane over on that side of the peninsula. But with that said, we are just getting, boy, this rain is, it's like being in an Amarillo, Texas sleet storm. It's just coming right at me, east to west, and so is the water. Look at the waves out here. Now, if you've ever been to South Florida, you probably know, obviously you've never seen anything like this. Wow, and the waves crashing up here on the boardwalk, lifting up the planks. I don't know, this is really becoming compromised over here. And now the spray blowing into some of these condominiums. But again, the surge is not remarkable by any means, based on where the water was last night here in this area of this area right off Brickell Key. But boy, the visibility is down. I cannot see the causeway, the Rickenbacker, and over there on Virginia Key where we had that wind clocked at 100 miles an hour about 90 minutes ago at the University of Miami. We were there up on the roof back on Tuesday to start our coverage, and I can't even imagine being up there right now. So what we're dealing with is the outer bands of Hurricane Irma. We're more than 100 miles from the center, but if you look on the radar, you can see some of the strongest bands are coming up through Miami-Dade County, where about half the people, at least last time I checked, were without power. So this is going to be the situation all afternoon into this evening, these winds, which will eventually shift direction. They'll go from the east to a generally west-southwest direction later on this afternoon. How about that gust? Boy, that'll take it out of you. We're going back into the Atlanta area, into the lab. We're going back to Carl Parker in the lab and get the latest on what's going on. As far as, Carl, any tornado warnings and the situation now in the Keys?
Yeah, Mike, no tornado warnings right now. An extreme wind warning, however, continues for the lower Keys, where we're looking at winds that could be of tornado force.
All right, Mike Seidel getting hammered on the east side. Now, I have, again, Mike, before I throw it to you, I have the whole state of South Florida here to keep me from getting the worst of the wind. Okay, the friction of the land is taking that. You don't have that. You've got the Atlantic Ocean, so you're not getting any change in that wind at all, any decrease in that wind at all, are you?
Not one bit, Jim. The only thing between us and the Atlantic is Miami Beach, which is a barrier island, some high-rise condos and hotels, and Port Miami. But for all intents and purposes, there's nothing blocking this wind. There is something blocking the wave action, but with that said, look at the waves out here. This is just amazing. And this looks like a nor'easter. Again, we're not on the ocean front. We're back inland. This water is blowing up the Miami River. I don't know what the impact is downstream, but look at what's going on here. The water's crashing. Whoa, that one just came right over the seawall right here. And you can see the boardwalk is getting ripped to shreds. That's about 3 feet below the seawall. And this boardwalk is going to be toast. It's going to be gone in the next couple of hours. But we're seeing these boards. See it out here, floating right there. So this is just debris that's floating in the water. The condos, the power, looks like the power is still on. I see some lights on. Look at this. This just blew up. Everything's going down the river into downtown Miami. We're in the Brickell section. As far as the peak wind gust over Virginia Key at the Rosenstiel School. That's the University of Miami, where they got the wave pool and the meteorology and the atmospheric sciences. They measure the gust to 100 miles an hour, and we're not that far away. That's over on the Rickenbacker Causeway. No place to be. We've seen one vehicle out this morning. He came down the street, and then he backed up and went the other way for good reason. So the water is is beginning to come up a little bit, but still, I would suspect the surge is not more than about 3 feet, but we're going to be dealing with this onshore wind for quite a while. It'll be mid to late afternoon as the hurricane goes north of our latitude. That's the east-west line. Once it does that, the winds will shift around from onshore to offshore, and at that point, the surge issue goes away. But we're still going to have all this wind.
Miami, and let's go out to Mike Seidel. He is getting pounded by the storm right now. The winds have been relentless there, and downtown flooding as well. Mike, just unbelievable what you're seeing so far away from the core of the storm.
Hey, Carl, it's really hard to hear you. We're getting the brunt of Irma right now in downtown Miami, right off the Miami River, the Brickell section. These winds sustained 50-plus miles an hour. We've had gusts over at Miami International, not the official reporting station, but one of the terminals, to 94. In fact, I just checked the observation from MIA, and the wind direction and speed is MIA, missing in action. So I don't know if it's an electrical malfunction of the wind measuring equipment or it got blown away. With that said, pretty powerful stuff here, blowing the water down the street. And for that reason, we're going to be backing up and getting to higher ground here in about 15 minutes after the top of the hour. But you get a sense of the wind. It is just whipping through here, right up through the bay, down the Miami River. We'll show you that shot again here at 11 Eastern. Give you an idea what it looks like out there. It's just some jaw-dropping video over there with the wave action. But you can see how the wind is blowing the bay down the street here around the financial district. There are people here in these condos. About 30% of the people stay behind up here. You notice the power is still on. But that's not the case for a majority of the folks who live here in Miami-Dade County. This wind is going to stay like this for a while. As the center goes by us, it'll shift direction. And then tonight, as it continues to move up the coast and away from South Florida, the winds will slowly subside. That's going to be really after midnight tonight. Wow. The power of the atmosphere. Just, the hurricane is a giant heat engine. And remember, we're more than 100 miles from the center of Irma. And we're getting slapped pretty good. Carl, we're going to throw it back to you. We're going to come back at 11 a.m. Eastern in a few minutes, and we'll show you what this wind is doing in creating the waves on the other side there going up the Miami River. Carl, take it away, buddy.
All right, let's go back out to Mike Seidel right now, where he is just getting a relentless wind. And look at that angry sea, Mike. It looks like it's almost on the verge of being a dangerous location.
Yeah, I have never seen, whoa, I just got part of a wave. I have never seen South Florida look like this. The wind, and now look at the water coming up here. This is why we're going to be pulling back to higher ground in just a few minutes. The wind is just piling the water up. We have nothing to stop the wind from hitting us here from the Atlantic because all we have is the port and Miami Beach and some buildings. But look at these waves. You may never see this kind of wave action again live on television. Let's hope not. Keep the hurricanes away from South Florida. Everybody would be happy. And for that matter, the rest of the coastline up and down the East Coast, Gulf Coast. We've lost just about the entire boardwalk, which is on the other side of the seawall. Can you imagine being up in these upper floors of these condos right now, in these hotels? Boy, the sound of the wind just down here at this level, and the roar higher up. Remember, as you go up to 25 stories, the wind increases about 17%. That's another category up. So you figure the winds up there are sustained probably just below hurricane force when you get to the top of the building, because they don't have anything to stop. You don't have the friction like that on the ground, not that we have much. The other angle is the wind and the rain, just horizontal sheets of rain battering us here in the Brickell section of Miami. We'll have to take a look when we go over the bridge to see what kind of impact the water is having downtown, because this water is being blown right up the Miami River into downtown Miami. But look at this wave action here. This is like a nor'easter up on the coast of New England. I've been in waves like that. I've seen waves like that, but not an inland waterway. This is not the open waters of the Atlantic. Gosh knows what the waves look like out there on Miami Beach, but this is quite the visual that we've had all morning here. And for safety reasons, we're going to be packing up here and heading to higher ground so we can get out of harm's way of the surge. It's starting to come up. We're expecting about a 5-foot surge, and we've seen the water slowly ramp up. We want to be safe. Again, later on this afternoon, the winds will shift direction, but they're still going to be strong, and they're still going to cause damage and knock out power, and there's still that severe threat. All of this is really going to head up the east-west coast of Florida from this point on. Jim Cantori's in Fort Myers out on I-75. And Jim, get ready for a pretty good beating. I've been slapped around now for about 6 hours, and it'll take it out of you. Jim?
You know, it's interesting, Mike, when we were there yesterday and when you and I were talking, you know, we were sitting at the bar talking about, hey, you know what, this is probably going to be, especially with this west shift, a lot like Katrina was in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, a lot like Wilma was. And I think you're seeing that come to fruition there. Biggest gust we've seen is down in the Keys. Big Pine Key, guys, at 120 miles per hour at the National Wildlife Refuge there. So incredible. We are between the beautiful Marriott Courtyard